Hello and welcome to this lecture on Adobe Illustrator by Eduonix Technologies. In this lecture we're going to be talking about actions and automation with actions. So let's take a look at the default actions and how we can combine these to make our own. I'm going to go down here to create new set. By default it's called set 1 and it puts it in our default actions folder. It puts it in its own set. So we're going to add these default actions to the set. And most actions are going to apply to something. So, for instance, set 1, let's just take opacity 60 selection and put it there, and scale dialog selection. And if we collapse or expand all these, we can edit the actual scale. We'll save it on uniform and it's just set to 120% automatic. And let's make it scale. So the first thing to note is that this means a dialog box will come up when you play the action. So I'm going to select this, I'm going to play our default action, which should change the opacity without a dialog box. And it should then scale it. So let's see. Now it brought up a dialog box. So I'm going to click, put in what I want, and then I'll click OK. Then it would be over. So let's go back. When I turn the dialog box off, if I turn it off for either one of these, it turns it off for its parent. And this means that it has a dialog box somewhere in the set. If I turn that off, it turns off all of them if I had. So let's turn off the one for scale, which automatically turns off this one, which then automatically turns off this one because this thing is in there. And let's see what happens when we play it. So it does everything that was preset into these commands. So there you have a custom action if I have a bunch of boxes. And have them all selected. It'll do it just like it would do it if they were all together, grouped together. You can make so you can also make your own, and you'll when you're playing around with this, you'll quickly learn, and it's kind of intuitive what things can record and what things can't. So I'm going to make my own. Before I do that, I'm going to create some new boxes, different colors. Alright, so let's watch what you can't do. Create new actions and automatically start recording. I'm going to call this can't. Selected 3 things and then move them down. I'm going to stop. So let's hit undo. That doesn't obviously undo the action, but watch what happens if we play it with nothing selected like it was when we started. It says the move tool is not currently available. It's because selecting things, or anything that involves the position of the mouse, in this field right here doesn't record. So we hit stop on that. And let's just go ahead and delete what we have here. You can rename things just by clicking on them like anything else that looks like a layers panel. It usually acts like a layers panel. So I'm going to hit record now. And basically, I can select something, and it'll assume, the action will assume that this is going to be selected when I play it. So we'll have to have something selected to do this right. And I can do advanced stuff, like go up to select, same fill color, and it'll select same fill color. Delete, that's part of it. And then I can, for instance, and you can take your time with these too. I can stop this right here. And this is basically going to be a clear all of that fill color. So let's just make these all different colors. And play the action based on what we want to get rid of. So we do this, and then play current selection and get rid of the yellows. Do this, play current selection, get rid of the greens. So we created a delete similar colors as selected. So you get the kind of the idea of what happens. I'm just going to record a new one and just look at what pops up in the actions field when I'm doing stuff. What doesn't pop up. So let's once I've created a new set, I'm going to create a new action. I'm just going to do stuff. So I can select this, nothing happens. I can select all. Now that will select everything, of course. And I deselect all as well. So select all and edit from object transform, transform each. Let's go down to 85 for that. It records that. It can record pretty much anything that's done to a selected object. And then since I have them selected as part of this, I'm going to do a shift, 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 move, shift, move. So that's 4 moves. Now, I just clicked off, which is something I don't want to necessarily do. Because when I clicked off, I deselected it, but it wasn't recorded. So now I'm going to deselect. And that wouldn't work because you don't have the selection. So basically, any selection that you make has to be something that can be automated without having to do with the cursor. If you look up here under select, you see select all, control A. All these can be recorded essentially. These will work if there is something already selected. And these will work if there's something already selected. So another thing that we could do that's very similar to select same, since we are still actually recording this, select all, select all artwork on same layers, and eyedropper tools, you can see it doesn't work. Just delete. Now that deleted everything that time. So let's stop our action. It's pretty crazy. Let's bring up the layers panel. Let's create some objects on each layer. Different colors preferably. Let's see what happens when we run our action. The transform each will bring up the menu, so we would do our transform each. In this case, I'm going to show you what would happen with the menu. Once I hit preview to and everything, it doesn't disrupt the action. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to change this. Hit OK, and it'll proceed with the action. Now at the last one, it's select all artwork on the same layers. That's because we were doing this to all of the artwork. So let's get rid of select all and deselect all these. And now it's based on what you have selected. I'm going to get rid of the menu part from transform each. So if I have this selected, now I run it. I'm going to have to get rid of this last deselect all. Select all. So now it should just delete. It shouldn't delete the green box there. So it moves everything and does stuff, and then it deletes it. So now you know how to set up an action, essentially, and you probably get an idea of what can and can't be reported. I just want to show you this real quick. This is called button mode. And it makes everything essentially into a button. So draw a square out and rotate this. You can kind of group these together. Right up here so you can see what's going on. And rotate 90 degrees. So you just press this button. And instead of even uniting these, I can just unite the selected ones. So if you go back to the video on advanced selections, making selections, even the beginner one, you can see, and you probably already get an idea of what can be reported and what can't as far as selections. So you can select all that would be reported, all on active artwork would be reported. You can do a select inverse. So if these two are green, I can make an action such as this. And I'm going to go out of button mode for a second. New action set. Create new action. This is going to be based on it having something selected. So first it would be select the same, fill color, and then select inverse. So if you had just a bunch of objects, I'm talking a ton of objects here. So and you had these kind of scattered everywhere. Some of them were behind stuff, and you wanted a green object. You want to get rid of everything. You just hit this and play the action. Now you select everything but your green boxes. So you gotta use your creativity and imagination. So that's all I'm gonna show you for this video, so you get the basic idea of what actions do. And in the next one, we're gonna go in a little bit more in depth. And then there's a whole bunch of resources I'm gonna point you out to at the end, so that you know where to look when you really want to get into this, because it goes deep. It goes really deep. Too deep for even a 40-part tutorial series. I'm just going to point you in some directions, because this can be very useful. These basic parts are the most useful. So thanks for watching, and keep tuned. There's only a few more to watch, although you should watch these videos, all of them, about 10 times each, until you know it like the back of your hand.